Today on Voices, we focus on your relationships with money, specifically talking about 3 relationships with money. The contributors today are Billy and Jackson. They have years of experience related to this topic. So let's go. And welcome to the podcast today. Today, I really wanted to focus on an important topic to me. I think it's significant that people take the time and think about this topic. And I brought 2 guys on that are literally masters in this field, and I want to make sure they give you some of the best information they give you. So starting out, I have Jackson. He is with Carolina Asset Management. He's been in the game for some time, and I'm going to let Jackson introduce himself in a moment. And secondly, I have Billy. Billy is with Swinton Consulting, and he will be on the call in just a moment. But I will let Jackson go ahead and introduce yourself. Good to hear from you today.
Yeah, Lou, thank you very much for having me, man. This is a blessing and a treat. So Jackson Gilbert, I've been an advisor in financial services going on 14 years now. It's been, one hell of a ride, just like any business owner would tell you. But, definitely blessed to come from where I came from and be able to do what I do. But, yeah, the gist of my story, man, is, I'm a managing director at our firm, as well as AGA, which is an assistant general agent. We manage about 12 advisors under us. So I'm in charge of training, development, recruiting, and then also I still obviously run my own book of business with my near and dear clients that have stuck with me through the years. So, our main focus is retirement planning, obviously, asset protection, and increase in retirement income. So we take a very, what I feel is a very unique approach to financial services and financial planning. We feel like you got to have different parts of the financial world working together to make your portfolio, work well for you in retirement years, not just now, but even before you retire. But that's pretty much my story, man. That's my intro, and happy to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. And it sounds like Billy has joined the call. So, Billy, that was Jackson. He introduced himself. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and what you do, and then we're going to jump into the conversation.
Sounds great. I appreciate that, Lewis. Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, just to let you know, I'm sure, Lewis, you've heard this before. I'm the shining example of the perfect husband, business partner, family member, friend that encourages other people to do the same. That's something that always motivates me. Just to give a business bio, if that's what's needed for this conversation. Jackson, sounds like we do close to the same thing. I'm independent, financial consultant. Been in the business since 1999. Primerica, if you're in financial services, I'm sure you've heard of Primerica. That's where I got my start. Became an RVP there. Left with intentions to come back, but what I found out outside of it made me not want to go back. Went to New York Life for a little while, then went with captive agency, and I would say since about 2012, I've been totally independent, had agents here and there. My agency and the agents in my agency, they had.
Can you say that last part one more time? It broke up a little bit.
No problem. I said the agents that I had in my agency really had their own agency. So we were more partners than there being agents in my agency.
Okay, cool.
But that's transitioned a lot for me over the last, probably since we spoke the last few times, Lewis. A lot has changed. I'm still in the financial services industry, but it's more a referral basis. Or I'll do, a handful of workshops a year, and I'll service the attendees at the workshops and their referrals. But I've been working a lot more in real estate, partnering with my son and the missus, and just living life, man. I told you I'm, starting the process to become a pilot. So I just want to kind of slow down a little bit on the working end and start living a little bit, man. I've been busting my butt for so long. I'm getting pretty comfortable with just doing little things to increase my cash flow. Not, would it be great to, have $1 million coming in a year? Yes, of course. But instead of chasing that, I'm just chasing, things that make me happy right now.
And that's an awesome and a perfect segue. There was some breaking up, but I feel like the people will understand what you said. But again, the topic is mastering your 3 relationships with money. And in my opinion, the 3 relationships with money are earning money, spending money, and investing money. And what you said kind of leads to the content of the topic is. And so I would ask you, as far as the 3 relationships, if you had to choose one that's the most vital to nurture for a person, which would you choose is the most important? Earning, spending, or investing? And Jackson, I'll let you go first, and Billy, you go after.
Yeah, I think all 3 of them are equal, Lou. I think if one stood out, though, probably I guess if you want to classify the investing as savings in general. And I always tell people, you've got 2 places that your money is either going to go. It's either going to stay in your world or it's going to exit your world. And what I mean by that is you're either saving it, or you're keeping it in the account, or it's exiting out for whatever reason, lifestyle, bills, what have you. So, for me, it's just I guess the investing or savings part, because the income, that's what people I think a lot of times get overwhelmed with. And Billy, I'm sure you've felt this too. I mean, you sit down with some clients and like, yeah, I want to retire. I want this, I want that, but I just don't feel like I have enough. And a lot of that just comes from they've never been coached on, hey, Rome wasn't built in a day. Let's start with baby steps. Let's start saving 5% this year. Next year, let's bump that up to 10. Next year, let's bump that up to 15. And it's always a work in progress. It doesn't have to be a, one size solution.
All right, cool. And Billy?
Yes, I believe that the easier we earn money, it makes everything else easier. The more we earn, if you earn very little and you have poor spending habits and great investing habits, you're limited in your investing. If your earning is low and your spending is good and your investing is bad, in a bad situation. But I think if your earning potential or earning is high and investing habits, you're still in a better position because it makes it easier for you to manage those other 2 pieces.
I'm sorry. It sounded like you broke up a little bit. So I'm going to just give you a quick synopsis of what I thought I heard is that you prioritize earning as number 1, because if you spend poorly, you can make up for it in investing. And if you invest poorly, you can make up for it in how you spend. But the earning is the foundational relationship that you have to have most secured. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Like Jackson said, a lot of the people that he deals with, they have, I guess, anxiety, or they have concerns when it comes to their, how their earning income is. So I just put a lot of emphasis on the earning. That doesn't mean I'm right.
That's perfect.
A personal
That's perfect.
feeling.
I think that our ideologies work for us, and that's important when you bring that to a person's consciousness. So going back to psychology of money, and what you said is perfect. And then I'll let you answer first, and then Jackson, I'll let you jump on for a second. Psychology of money is really, really important. You kind of alluded to it when you were talking about the people gradually getting to where they need to be. And I think the psychology of money is important. And I think one of the psychologies people have with their psychology of money is sort of a shortage consciousness, or they're focused on a lack. And I think that affects all their other things. And so if you don't earn enough, or you don't think you earn enough, or if you think you can't spend enough, or you don't think you can invest, it affects that. So Billy, I'm gonna let you go ahead first on how important you think psychology of money is.
Well, I think the psychology of money has a larger impact than you believe. And unfortunately, a lot of people get caught up in what someone else is doing. And
I think it might be a small technical issue on that. So Jackson, I'm gonna let you jump in there, and then we'll let Billy finish.
Yeah, cool. I was thinking about that, man. The psychology of money, in my opinion, a lot of it is like learned behavior. if that makes sense. I think
Yes.
people, depending on how you grow up, depending on what, how you see your parents or your caregiver spend money, all that kind of things, it can really develop either good or bad habits. I came from a household where I had a father who was a spender and a mother who was a saver. So I got to see, it's nice to be able to splurge and things like that, but I also had one kind of the angel on the shoulder saying, hey, save this. You never know what's coming down the pipe. And so that had a big impact on me. So I saw both sides of it. And then I had a grandmother that took care of me who, like a lot of people, she grew up in the Great Depression where you literally save everything.
Right.
And you get the cheapest or the most inexpensive deal on everything you can because they are basically doing that out of fear. Fear of not having, because they've lived through that. They know what it's like. So psychology of money, as far as I see it, is, it can vary with person to person, but I really do think that you develop those characteristics, those habits early on, and then that dictates how you spend money when you're an adult, how you save money, the way you look at income, things like that. So that's kind of my take on that.
That's awesome. And it's interesting because I was a teacher in school. I taught psychology, sociology, economics, etc. And one of the things that I remember, and I heard, I was listening to someone who was talking about shortage consciousness. And it said something that was interesting. They said, now think about back when time started. Was the amount of wealth that is available in the world today available then? And you think about it, you're like, no, there wasn't money like that. So even when there was money, like they had paper money or coined money, it still didn't have the same level of wealth that exists in the world today. And if you think about it, every year there's more money in the world. So it's interesting that people have sort of this shortage consciousness about money, but every year the world shows there's more. Now we can have the doomsday people who talk about running out of resources and stuff, but thus far we've shown a resiliency to change. So I think that matters when people think about, like, the markets, for example. You were talking about the market. The market has gone up, every year for the last, maybe 5 to 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And we're in the question, no one ever questions. I mean, we kind of know, but where is that money coming from, right?
Right.
And so if the market goes up every year, you as a person with money, should you really have sort of a fear of shortage of the money that you can earn?
I think it depends on how you look at it. I mean, it depends on whether you're dealing with a person who is in a position to increase income, every year. Like, for instance, in my line of work, I can kind of dictate my own paycheck.
Right.
And that's a lot easier said than done, put it that way. But,
right.
You've got a lot of people who are working what I call fixed income positions, fixed income jobs. Yeah, you might get a raise every now and then, but eventually you're going to top out. Eventually, if you work for the power company, or if you work for, the truck manufacturer, something like that, you might make good money, but eventually it's going to top out. So you're always going to be living in that scenario where, hey, I make 60 grand or I make 100 grand a year, but that's a finite number. And I've got to plan, not just for what I need now, but if I retire at age 60, 65, I've got to make sure that the income that I'm bringing in now is being put away so I can have that later. And that's one thing that at my firm we try to stress to our clients whenever we sit down with them is, people are living longer, advances in medicine, things like that. My grandmother this year, she'll turn 97. So she's literally been in retirement almost as long as she worked.
Wow.
And so when you look at things like that, now she's, Great Depression, hell, by the time me and you, we're about the same age, the time me and you are at retirement age, our retirement years might last 30 to 40 years, maybe even longer. And that's the thing that I try to stress to people is, the day you hang it up, the day you get your gold watch, the day you turn in your last paperwork to HR, or the day you sell your business, whatever it is, you want to be able to hang it up and not worry. You want to be able to leave all that behind not to say that, I mean, like, I know for a fact I'm probably still going to work doing something because I can't sit still
Right.
unless there's some kind of, health issue or something like that that keeps you from doing that. But at least I want to have the option to be able to do that. I don't want to be forced to have to do that. So
Right.
that's a big part of what I think goes into planning is like I said, there's two different ways to look at it. Yeah, if you're dealing with professionals, things like that, that can kind of boost up or businesses that can boost up their income is one thing. But for the most part, I mean, everybody's kind of living fixed income. And that fixed income might be, 30,000 or it might be 300,000, but it's still fixed.
Yeah, and an interesting thing you mentioned is you're talking about where people top out. I had a conversation with a guy I went to university with, and he's a teacher. And he said something because we were talking about whether teachers are professionals, and he said the most insulting part of the professional discussion of just teachers is that at year 15 you max out.
Right.
Like it's shown they show you your salary scale for your entire career, and they show at year 15 that's the most money you're ever going to make, and you might get another bump at year 22, 25, but basically you have to work another 15 years and you're not going to earn a dime more. And so that in itself deals with my primary question of the three relationships, because okay, if you have the relationship with your money, you know where you earn your money. Cool. You know where it is. You know it's going to top out. Some people know in advance. Some people find out suddenly. I would hope that they want to do the research and find out if they can top out.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that dictates the next two relationships of how you spend your money, but most importantly, how you invest it. Because in my opinion, everything you do can be monetized in some way.
Yep.
And so I feel like that's going to lead me to my next question is when you talk about relationships with money, I'm going to talk about your relationship with money, because you know what you can earn, you know what you spend, and investing is the most important part. So for you, like, how have you chosen to diversify what you do to understand, okay, I earn this, but then I'm going to diversify all the other things? So what are things that you think others can do and what you do to help people understand you can improve your relationship with money?
Well, as far as diversification, I mean, for me, I use myself as an example, right? And it's funny, I had a talk with one of the guys I went to the beach with this past weekend for our guys trip. I'm also involved in another business with him. And we were just talking about, hey, look, it's not that we don't make good enough money at our day jobs, but sometimes you want to break up the monotony of it. So for us, diversification means, hey, what if we can spin off and start another business or another company where, yeah, we might not make as much as we do at our day jobs, but it's still bringing in positive cash flow. And so that's what I tell people all the time is like, it's one thing to be at like the 9-to-5 job, but if you have the ability to diversify your time, it can really, really help you as far as, hey, I've got fixed income or fixed bills that I know I've got coming from my day job, but then I've also got this other thing on top of that can bring in some positive cash flow that is, can be earmarked for whatever. It can be earmarked for fun. It can be earmarked for, early retirement, whatever it is. So I think diversification, that word can mean a lot of things. And it's the same thing with a retirement portfolio. You can't have all your eggs in one basket. You can't have everything in stocks. You can't have everything, 90-10 aggressive all the time. And our time is the same way. Time is the most valuable commodity we've got. So I think I'm in a roundabout way answering your question, at least from how I see diversification defined. But does that make sense, I guess, as far as there's a lot of different ways you can look at diversification and what that means?
No, it makes a lot of sense in it. What it shows is it's allowing you sort of to practice the mastery that you have for your clients. So, for instance, say you have a teacher client that comes in. They're like, hey, in the next 5 years, I'm going to max out. I've decided I want to be a teacher for the rest of my life. I know I'm going to max out at year 15. I'm in year 10. So what can I do in the next 5 years to sort of diversify myself in my investing and the skills I have to move forward? For instance, my sort of assessment of teachers is teachers have skills where they can monetize other things outside of what's in that classroom based on the skills they have. So what would you tell a teacher in sort of that in that scenario?
Well, there's a couple of things, right? I would say let's look at what you've got that's earmarked for retirement through the state or for whatever municipality you're working under. So, for instance, okay, do they offer 401k? Do they offer pension, things like that? And then once we get that mapped out, is we can take a hard look and say, okay, is that going to be enough? Because, like a bit this about me, Lou, but I mean, before I got into financial services, I was a police officer for 6 years. So I know what it's like to have the $12 to $15 an hour job. And pretty much you don't really have enough to save per se coming out of your paycheck. So you depend on those things like the pensions and the 401ks and things of that nature. So that's just where you look at, it's kind of eye-opening when I walk a client through that is, will your current path of savings get you to the promised land of the retirement that you want? And then it's kind of up to the client to decide, well, yeah, okay, I was saving 10%, maybe I need to bump that up to 20%. So it just really depends on the goals of the client. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. And one of the things you mentioned, I'm glad you said something about police officers, because in itself, a dangerous job. But like, for instance, a police officer, if they're saying, hey, my retirement's here, I think that conversation can create the mentality for them of, hey, maybe I can like freelance some security services or something like that on the side. Because if I want to be able to give Jackson, instead of $30, I want to give him $50. If I add this thing here that I already do, then I can add to it. And so that's where I feel like they can improve their relationship, because they're changing they're changing their investment into their time. So Billy, I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump back on with the question for the psychology of money, but also just my question was, when people know that they earn something and may max out somewhere, how do they alter their other relationships with money to make sure they can achieve the financial goals that they have and they can feel more freedom?
So I better understand the question. You said when they max out their income?
For instance, I was talking about a friend of mine who was a teacher, and we were talking about like whether teachers are professionals, but he brought something up that was very important. He said it was the greatest insult of being a teacher is, for teachers, the salary scale shows that year 15 you max out. You're not going to earn any more money, and if you want to retire as a teacher, from year 15 to year 30, you may get one other pay bump, but that's it. So you've maxed out your earning potential, which affects obviously your mentality, your psychology of money. So my question is how do you use your other relationships with money to help you reach whatever retirement goals, or just to have a better relationship with money in general?
Okay, so the answer to that is twofold. Number one, if in that capacity the income potential is maxed out and there's no other, I guess, for lack of a better word, income, whether it's, the feeling they get, what they're doing for the children. If they feel like they've maxed out on the financial side and are not getting fulfilled in the other side, it's going to eventually destroy that avenue.
Okay.
And I think it's going to end up hurting everything, because mentally, if we're messed up in a certain area mentally, it's going to affect their spending, it's going to affect their investing, it's going to affect everything negatively. Another thing is, the other to make it a twofold answer is, if they look at it as being maxed out, that's also an issue. In that position may not be any other income or whatever, but there's so many things you can do where you can still be a teacher, or you can still do what you love if you love teaching, where your income is still going to be unlimited in some capacity, whether you start a school, whether you start a program fund. So if you look at it as my income is maxed out, you're already at a disadvantage. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking this is the max that I can earn doing what I do, you're already at a disadvantage. When we talk about a psychology of things, what we believe dictates what happens. It's our reality. So that max feeling could cause other negative habits and other financial or emotional or relationship areas of life.
Okay, that's good. And I think that goes with the sort of addressing and knowing that if you have shortage consciousness about money, because I just, again, feel like there is, going back to the original point of reference, when the world began, the amount of wealth that's in the world now wasn't mm-hmm. there. And every year, the amount of wealth that's in the world mm-hmm. increases. And so as humans, we have to kind of recognize our surroundings and be aware that money is always going to grow. It's literally a tree. It's literally a plant. So you have to find a way to sort of water yourself, and having those relationships with money matters. So shifting a little bit, I actually love Twitter. I follow Twitter, people on Twitter a lot for just random stuff, because I think on Twitter people get to the point and they say what they have to say, whether it's negative, positive. They say what they have to say. I follow a guy called Naval, Naval, and he actually has this pinned. And so I want to get your feedback on, it's a tweet storm, it's a thread, but the first one I think is super, super important, and I want your opinions. It says, seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the societal hierarchy. So in your opinions, what do you think about that quote? And if I need to say it again, I can say it again.
Jackson?
I'll let, yeah.
Yeah, I'll tackle it. Read it to me one more time, Lou, just to get...
Absolutely. Seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that, as I heard it the second time, the phrase that clicked in my head was work smarter, not harder. You know, and I think that's what it boils down to is, you know, the way we've I keep using myself as an example, but it's just the easiest thing for me to pull from. You know, having, I think we're up to 10, 12 advisors under us now. You know, yeah, even though I manage my own book still and we're independent, those guys are out there making money for the firm. And so it took a while to build that up, and we're still building it. But, you know, I know that even when I'm out on a meeting, or if I'm even this past weekend on vacation, took a long weekend, my firm is still producing. And so I think that's, you know, that's a great saying. I think the thing that honed in on for me was the time part of it. You know, the money is just, it's just the way we pay for goods and services, you know, but it also represents freedom. And the real wealth part of that comes into where if you can sit and go do other things that you enjoy, knowing that your money is still working for you, that is where I think we all strive to be.
Awesome. And Billy, what you got?
Just to go off of what I started talking about earlier, that's hitting the nail right on the head. And it depends on what you relate wealth to. If you relate wealth to money, then you're going to have a different road to take. Once I started looking at the wealth and valuing certain things, valuing certain relationships, valuing, you know, putting a value on certain experiences, I stopped chasing money and I started chasing the wealth more. I told you I'm looking to purchase a plane so that I can go further places, and I don't even own a car. I Uber everywhere now, because since I live uptown Charlotte, which is like a small city, but everything I need access to is within 2 miles away. So I don't have to have a car. I can pay $5 to get here and there, and it gives me back more time. I don't have to, and I'm actually saving money over the long term. But, you know, certain things, the experiences, if I have a plane that I actually own, even if it's a 4 or 6 seater that costs less than what the average, you know, SUV costs, I can have more wealthy experiences. I can, you know, get to my mentors who has a wealth of knowledge more. A $10 million income per year to me is useless if you have no time to spend doing what you want to do.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because both of you guys were there when I decided to make my journey to come to South America. And I came back to the States for a month, and I immediately came back. And I wrote a book while I was here, and it is a book called Prisms of Wealth. And the Prisms is an acronym for physical, relationship, intellectual, spiritual, monetary, and social wealth. And I feel like if you have mastery of all those different types of wealth, you sort of master your life. So I come to another quote that this guy has, and I want your opinions. And I'll let Billy go first, and then Jackson, you go second. he says this, and both of you have actually done this with you being independent business owners. It says, you're not going to get rich renting out your time. You must own equity, a piece of a business to gain your financial freedom. You will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get it. What do you think about that?
I mean, short answer is I agree. I agree. And again, it depends on your psychology of what you value. Some people value that prestige. They value that title. They value things that I don't necessarily value. And my thing is, if you value that, go after it. Go get it. It's just not something I don't care what what the Joneses are doing. I don't care about the the nice title. That statement is great. I agree 100% with it.
And Jackson, you?
Yeah, same thing, man. I mean, I think a lot of people. It's funny you say this. They've looked at me, or they've known me from a year one in the business to year now, or to now. And then somebody said something to me one day. They said, I hadn't seen you wear a tie in the last couple of years. And I said, they were like, your suits are still sharp or whatever, but I hadn't seen you in a tie in a long time. You used to be in a tie every day. And that's because, one, and I'm sure, Billy, if you started your career with New York Life, you have to wear that stuff.
Absolutely. And it's got to be blue.
Right. Yeah. You got to wear a blue or a white shirt. You can't deviate from that. You can't have facial hair. You can't have this. You can't have that. You got to look. I remember my first managing partner. That's the thing he said to me all the time. You have to look like you can handle people's money. Mm-hmm. And I believe what he was saying. He had a point to it. I'm glad I got trained that way. But, society and the way they look at things has changed so much over the past 14, 15 years. Whereas, when I started in the business, if you had a advisor or an agent show up to a meeting with a short sleeve shirt on and they have visible tattoos, my managing partner would have had a fit. Nowadays everybody's got tattoos. Everybody's got beards. Everybody's got, some dudes with their hair long, some dudes with their hair in braids, dreads, whatever the case is. But I think that's become more and more apparent as you have to, one, do what makes you feel comfortable, what makes you happy, but you also have to present yourself to the type of clientele that's going to relate to you. And clientele and the way people do business has changed so much over the years that, it's kind of like, to Billy's point, do what makes you happy. Because you're going to attract those type of clients that you have things in common with, and those are the ones you're going to really get along with, and more importantly, those are the ones you're going to enjoy working with.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing I try to stress to my young guys. Like, you can't do what I do now, but I'm sure Billy would attest to this. You get to a point where, you might run across people, whether it's a referral, whether it's somebody you meet on the street, and nowadays we're so seasoned, we can go, you know what? I want to work with this person, or I don't want to work with this
Absolutely.
person. And that right there is a part of financial freedom.
It sure is, man. You can, Lewis. I'm sure you've seen me in a lot of my appointment outfits. Jackson, I wear Air Force Ones and workout gear to most of my appointments. Now, could I have done that early on?
Nope.
Absolutely not. But if I do a workshop and you see me in a suit, I own a suit.
Right. Right.
So if you're the only person I'm meeting today, and I'm going to the gym later, I'm wearing gym clothes.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, I always tell people, like, the first time I meet somebody, I'm probably gonna at least put a suit on.
Yes.
But after I get to know people, like right now, man, I saw one client today. We grabbed lunch. That was it. I'm in Jordan shorts and a Jordan cutoff.
There we go.
And I'm sitting at home right now in front of 2 computer screens talking to you guys, and I'm still managing and doing my work. But yeah, it does, that's the one thing about me, man. Like, I used to be the kind of person I was in the office every day. Mm-hmm. And no matter what it was, I was there at 7:30 in the morning, leave at 5, 6, then you might have to go see a client afterwards or whatever the case may be. Now, I work smarter, not harder. So it's like, if I can stay at home in my home office and accomplish more than what I would by actually going to the firm today, then that's what I'm going to do. You've
earned it.
Yeah. Exactly. You earn it. Yep.
Yeah, you gotta earn it. Yeah.
So I have a follow-up question because of the stuff you both have said. So for me, it's really interesting because I kind of go to the beat of my own drum. Whether that's good or bad is to be determined when life
Right.
is over. But mentors, I honestly I look at my friends as my peers, as my mentors, because I admire what the people in my life do. For you, like you both are in specific industries. What is the role of mentors play with you for you to develop the relationship that you have now with money? Because you all sound like you have all three of those relationships with money mastered. So I'm gonna let Billy go first, and then Jackson, you can go on the second part of what did your mentors kind of give you?
All right. Well, I put very, very high value on mentorship. I think that's a forgotten commodity. People, you know, don't put the value on it that they need to. Uh, I'm trying to. What was the rest of the question as far as it was mentorship
Well,
and
just like what did your mentors do to help you kind of get to where you are?
well, is one thing about having a mentor is you got to have a mentee. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you have a mentor and you're learning from that mentor and you don't have anyone to transfer that information to, stuff that you think is not valuable, you're not gonna put an emphasis on it. But if you're transferring information and you're taking it in, even if it may not be valuable to you, you still got to learn it because you're transferring that to a mentee.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. And I think that it has to be a give and take with a mentor-mentee relationship. Whether I'm the mentee, whether I'm the mentor, we both got to be getting value. Just like I said, you got to have a mentee when you're learning from a mentor. So there's value in having a mentee. But we also have to say what we want to learn. We also have to say what we expect. And I think if we voice that, like when you went away, Lewis, I told you, if I'm not able to visit, I told you I wanted to learn Spanish. Hopefully I'll be able to get to visit. I gave you a bunch of demands that you didn't necessarily have to abide by, but that was the relationship I felt like we had. And that's
Absolutely.
how I am with my mentors, whether they know they're a mentor or not. All your mentors don't need to know they're a mentor, but you have to demand certain things from them, and you have to pay attention. Most importantly, pay attention. Know what's working, know what's not working.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Jackson?
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything Billy said. I always think back to no matter what line of work I was in at the time, I always had that kind of seasoned vet that pulled me to the side, kept me out of trouble, things like that. And it's so funny. Like I manage people now. That's part of my position with the firm. And as much as me and my managing partner at times, my first managing partner, would at times butt heads. Now I look back and I'm like, you know what? I understand why he was the way he was.
Mm-hmm.
Because, to Billy's point, you got to have a mentor, you got to have a mentee, but the mentee also has to be open enough to accept it, to accept the coaching and the constructive criticism or whatever it may be. I think nowadays, in society, we've got to a point where even the coaches, you can't coach anymore because everybody looks at it as criticism.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
When we came up, it was like, no, you're going to do this because you work here and I tell you to do it, or you're, whether you play football or sports or basketball, it's like there was no debating on what you were going to do. You did it. Now, whether or not you agreed with it or not, that could be figured out later. Now it's reversed and people are saying, hold on, I got to figure out if I agree with what this dude's saying or not. Mm-hmm. And it slows down the developmental process, in my opinion. There were a lot of things where I was like, man, why is this dude making me come in at 7:30 in the morning? Why is he making me wear a tie Monday through Thursday? Why is he making me do this? Because you know what? It developed really good habits. Mm-hmm. And even though now I might not agree with all those habits, and I might not, stick with all those for the next 30 years of my career, however long I'm working, but I do know why he was doing it, and I can then, like Billy was saying, I can now pass that on to other people to where they have to go through the trials and tribulations of years 1 through 5, where it's the toughest, where, you are wearing a suit every day because you're building your book of business. You don't know who you're going to run across. and develop your own kind of niche, And then he used to tell us one thing. He said, look, your first year or two that you work here, he said, you work for me. When you hit certain levels of counsel, then we become business partners. When you make this level of counsel, then I'll work for you. Then I'm here to get you what you need, and I'm on call. And that really stuck with me throughout my career because, the coaching, whether it's with clients or whether it's with people you're bringing in under you for the business. I mean, just today I had one of my best clients. He called me this morning, and he does this about every couple of years, but anytime he's going to make a new vehicle purchase, he calls it and he runs it by me. And a lot of financial advisors, some of them, not a lot, but we're like, well, man, I don't have time for that, or hey, it's your car, you buy what you want. But I feel honored. I feel extremely honored that he calls me with those big money decisions. Last year it was an Audi. This year it's a Volvo. He's like, hey, how do you see this lining up? Can we still contribute what we want to contribute for retirement? Yada, yada, yada. And that's a blessing to me. And I take a lot of pride in that.
And that's awesome. And it actually leads me to my next question is because of the positions you're in and you evaluating the relationships that people have with their money, those three relationships, you are kind of mentors to your clients. And so because that's the case, you kind of spoke to that. So I want to ask about one area that I think is valuable is the earning relationship that people have. So you actually explained your career, and it should be attractive to people based on kind of the lifestyles you live and, just sort of the mental exercise you have to do on a daily. But I read a stat here on Monster and on Investopedia where it says that 1/3 of the people in Australia and 22 million people in the United States are either underpaid or underemployed. And so that affects their first relationship, that relationship of earning money. But then you think about only 33% of people who go to college graduate. But it's taught to people that college is how you make money. It's the means, it's the entry. So if you're mentoring someone and you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to help you with your money. I'm going to help you develop better relationships with your money. What can you offer to someone to help them understand they have more than what they're doing as a big way to earning their money? Like, I don't know if my question is a little convoluted and I can restate it, but I think it's just valuable to help people understand from your position as advisors that you actually can earn more money than what you're earning doing whatever you're doing or just opening your mind to know you can do more. So I'll let Billy go first and then Jackson, and I'll have you go second.
Sure. Well, coming from Primerica, which is like a network marketing company, one of the things I used to, I remember sitting down with people is letting them know that I'm not a financial wizard. I'm not going to make you get 50% returns. I'm not going to make you get, an extra $10,000 a year of income. But as I told you guys, more income makes all of your other financial goals better. So that's one thing. The next thing, as far as limiting expenses, a lot of people know that they're overspending on certain things, spending $200 a month for cable. They got they're living in an apartment, but they got a Mercedes. A lot of people know this, but they need to hear someone tell them and check them on it. And people are okay with that. And if they're not okay with that, then I'm not the person for them. But sometimes they need to hear someone that has the financial consultant or financial advisor label attached to their name tell them what they already know they're doing wrong so that they can correct it. And it's all about accountability. We know in business what we need to do. You need to get up, you need to make contacts every day. If you're not making money, it's because you're not making enough contacts. So anytime you go dry, we all already know why we're not making in business what we need to do. Just like people know financially why they're not doing it. They're not making enough and they're spending too much most of the time. When it comes to investing and insurance and stuff like that, all we can do is tweak a little bit, but the most important things are their income and their spending habits. If they're spending well, we can invest more money while they're in the accumulation phase. And if they had good habits going on, then we have a larger sum of money to work with when we're looking to do a rollover. We're looking to, take that lump sum of money and turn it into income. So a lot of times people know and they just need to be nudged in the right direction.
Yeah,
Jackson?
100% agree with that, man. I mean, that's one thing I think that I try to overstate it when I first start working with a new client is like, look, man, I'm your advocate. I'm the person that, you know, you're basically, if we're entering into this agreement, you are hiring me as your financial coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I compare it to, a lot of times I compare it to working with a personal trainer, right? Like you
Absolutely.
don't go to a personal trainer the first session and they say, okay, your weight's coming in at 220, you want to get down to 180. Here's a list of stuff I need you to do. I'll see you in 6 months. It's like, no, they work with you, you know, on a weekly basis. And granted, I mean, you know, with us, with clients, it's not saying that we got to have a conversation with them every single week. But in the beginning, it is kind of like that because
Yeah.
once we get those habits developed and once we kind of, like Billy was saying, that a lot of times they just need that nudge to say, look, man, you know, you spent $1,000 this month on going out. Do you think you could do without half of that? And a lot of times people are like, you know what? Yeah, I probably could. You know, and even if they say they can, it's like, okay, we'll do without a quarter of it. You know, 250 is better than nothing. And then the next time we get together,
Right.
and that's how it is. I mean, if my trainer that I go to, I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I'm a little worried because I went to him this morning. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna do a check when you see me Friday," and I'm like, all the stuff I ate and drank while I was at the beach, now it's gonna come back to haunt me because I didn't work out since last week. I went to the beach, had a good time. So now it's that, you know, that's that nudge, you know, it's that wake up call. You know, when I go and see him Friday and stuff ain't looking right with my body fat and all that, he's gonna give me that cross-eyed look, like, what have you been doing? But it's gonna jerk me back into line to where I need to be. So 100% agree with everything.
Awesome. So, starting to wrap up a little bit. The one of my next to last questions is because of you guys seem like you have good relationships with money, and it sounds like you can coach people to have better relationships with money. Who exactly does your business service? Because you guys are not in competition. There's no competition in the world, truthfully, if people think about it. But who do you serve specifically? And I'll let Jackson go first, and then Billy, you'll go second.
Well, you know, for me, myself, my personal clientele, I like to work for or work with clients that have household incomes of six figures and up. Age really doesn't matter. I work with people who are just trying to start off saving and get a game plan together to, you know, all the way up to pre-retirees and retirees who, you know, I always say, and Billy, you probably back me up on this, no person that you meet in our business that is above the age of 50, you could meet 100 of them and 99 of them will have already had some sort of dealings with an advisor at some point in their life.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times when I'm finding those people, they're not leaving their advisor because the advisor did a good job, right? So it's either something where they didn't get a good vibe from them from the relationship, or they just don't feel like they were being serviced well enough. And so that can be a very challenging thing because you got to come in and kind of clean up, you know, what somebody else did. But yeah, I mean, that to simplify the answer, I mean, anybody who is concerned with saving money and having that financial coach, we will help. Now, whether or not that is a person that becomes a client of mine personally, that would have to meet those income requirements or whatnot. But that's why we have the firm, because we have people that can work with almost any you know, any clientele there is, as long as that person is serious about saving for their retirement.
Awesome. And Billy, you go ahead.
Sure. My financial business services two markets: people that are looking to accumulate money for retirement, and for people that are already in retirement, and they want to keep their money safe while still being able to compete. And I work off of my business. My financial business works around the indexing concept. Do I go outside of that? Of course, but as far as the growth on the front end, I use IULs, which is Index Universal Life, and on the back end, I would say probably 75% fixed index annuities. And those are two concepts and products that I really gear my business around. So I don't let people know that I can do everything. I'm not doing any managed money. I'm doing a lot less insurance now, but that's where my business is geared towards. And most of my market has been the senior market. I don't have an income limit or anything like that. If you come, because usually people are coming to my seminar, so it's an easier process. And that's what's also helped me transition into the real estate side, which still services the same market because a lot of these people are in, certain financial situations, whether it's tax or they just maybe, want a quick sale. I make the income that they would pay a real estate agent and closing costs and stuff like that. And doing it quickly, they'll sell the house to me at a discount. And I either, look to, fix it up and flip it or sell it quickly to a fixer and flipper. So those are the two ends of the business that I'm working on right now.
Awesome. So because I want to make you guys human, because you gave some heavy information, some not so heavy information, it's been philosophical because that's kind of who I am. I'm going to ask you a final question as a layup, and then we will meet again. So what do you do for fun? And do you have any like life quotes that you would want to leave with someone? And Jackson, I'll let you go first, and then Billy, you can close us out.
What do I do for fun, man? I tell you, a lot of it might sound a little cliche, but some of my best clients are actually some of my best friends, and so I just enjoy being around good people, man. It could be at a show, it could be at a concert, at the beach, whatever it is. I really love just being around people with great energy, and I think that's one reason, Lou, me and you've always gotten along so well.
Well, thank you.
Honestly, man, I think I could be doing anything, any activity, and as long as I'm around good people, I'm going to have a good time. Besides the other, I love going to the gym. I love, we just moved into a new house a couple months ago, so we're knee deep into fixing it up. And when you own a house, you never really have a job that's completed, so that's taking up a lot of time. But yeah, I mean, I like being around good people, man. I have to say, if I could say one thing of how I like to have fun, I like to be around great people.
And any quotes that you have you want to leave anybody with?
Quotes. Let me see. Quotes. I would probably, if I had to pick any quote, let's see. I would have to say, there's one, Ben Franklin, that I have on my wall at work, and it is lost time is never found again.
All right. Awesome. I have one more point for you to comment on at the end, but I'm going to let Billy go, and then we're going to start to wrap up.
No problem. What I like to do for fun, I'm an adventure guy. I play a lot of basketball. I told you I'm starting pilot's lessons. My wife and I, at a financial sales training, we took our daughter as staff. We jumped off of the stratosphere in Vegas, so I like adventure and stuff like that. But even more important than that, I love these type of conversations. Lewis, we've had a few. My wife instantly remembered you when I told her who I was going to be on the phone with. And actually, my wife and I just had our first joint seminar. My wife's an attorney. We had our first joint seminar. She spoke about wills and estates, power of attorneys and stuff like that. And I just spoke about financial stuff. We had our first joint seminar. And it's weird because I like doing seminars more than I like doing the actual sales. It's a lot more fun, to give people information and educate people and mentor people. And as far as a quote, I started off with my quote, that I'm the shining example of the perfect husband, father, family member, business partner, and associate that encourages other people to do the same. But I said that every day. I made a point that I would do it say it twice a day for 90 days, and it mentally changed my thinking. So I encourage people, that may not be the quote for you, to find something that you need to tell yourself, because I believe that now. Am I perfect? No, but I strive for that, and I encourage other people to do that. So it became me. So whatever the quote you need, find it, say it for a bunch of days. If it doesn't feel like you, find another one, so it can lead you to do what you need to do.
Here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So just for some end notes, to make sure if people want to contact you, I have for Billy, it's
Yes,
swintonconsulting.com.
the site
S
just went down because I started making changes
Okay.
when I did the when we had the seminar. I wanted to make some changes and somehow I messed it up. But you can find me at billy@swintonconsulting.com.
Awesome. In Jackson, I have Carolina Asset Management or camplanning.com. Is that
Yep,
right?
that's it, man. My personal email is ggilbert@camplanning.com. Reach me there. You can look up the website and reach me through there.
Well, gentlemen, you are two of the smartest guys that I know in my life, and
Wow.
my life has been around.
Wow.
I've been around for a
I'm
little
not
bit.
that
I
smart.
just love conversations with good people, but that's why I named the podcast "Voices of" and ... because you my people, my brothers, everything. And so I just want to thank you for being on here, and we will definitely touch bases and probably do something like this again. So if you have any final words you want to leave. Billy, I'll let you go first, and Jackson, I'll let you close out the podcast.
It just seems like Jackson and I have a lot in common. I love to have another conversation with Jackson. Hopefully we can, get a chance to meet. And once I get my actual license, hopefully we can go up one day if you guys aren't afraid of small planes.
Absolutely, man. We'd love to. We'd love to.
Great.
No, this has been great, man. Yeah, Billy, we need to link up and maybe go grab a coffee or a drink soon.
Where are you located, Jackson?
I live in Belmont, but our office is near Ballantyne, so we're not far.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we'll link up for sure. And this has been great, man. I was not having a bad day, but just a busy day, and this was what I needed to kind of take a breath. And it's been a very enjoyable convo, man. I really